Greetings, Mafia. In this video, I'll discuss future of Bitcoin, but also the mindset that's reflected through sheer fanaticism of those who are now practically a cult. But not a cult of any kind of spiritual or even national ideology, but strictly material in its nature. I recently had a back and forth with some of these unfortunate individuals, and all I can say, there's no hope for them. And I want to explore this phenomenon. But first, let me explain why I strongly believe that Bitcoin and other uncentralized cryptos are doomed. Let's go back to the days of French Revolution. After the revolution, the new republic nationalized the property of the church. It was used as an asset to a new currency called the assignat you see on your screen. This currency lasted for 6 months before being devalued by hyperinflation. The currency was overprinted, but that's not the reason why it failed. The real reason was its value wasn't determined by the real estate property on its balance sheet, but rather by trade and volume. Thus we come to Bitcoin. The asset of Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies is electricity. You need electricity for mining it. But its value isn't priced in electricity, it's priced in volume. Energy has been going through the roof recently, and if Bitcoin was priced in electricity, its value would be way over 100,000 by now, just like the assignat. And if we can draw parallels from history, Bitcoin will share the same fate. But that's not the only reason. As I said in my other videos, we're gonna see the new CBDC for central banks use only by 2024. That'll be the kiss of death for Bitcoin. And we're seeing it happen. Jerome Powell, who less than a year and a half ago said he's not even thinking about raising interest rates, is now all of a sudden backpedaling. And recently, Joe Biden issued an executive order regarding cryptos. Here's an excerpt from Wall Street Journal. Quote, "With the signing of a new executive order on cryptocurrency, President Joe Biden officially directed federal agencies to implement a strategy for policies and regulations on digital assets like crypto, according to a White House fact sheet." End quote. Bitcoin fanatics believe it's a good news for decentralized currency like Bitcoin. Nothing can be further from the truth. It's a kiss of death. Central banks don't like crypto because it's not regulated like other currencies and therefore not monopolized. This CBDC will most likely be used for central banks only, but regardless, the government can prohibit or seize any amount of Bitcoin. There's a recent article about a couple which allegedly scammed Bitcoin users. FBI swooped in and seized $3.6 billion in bitcoins. It didn't return the seized bitcoins to alleged victims, it kept it for its own goddamn self. And it ain't the first time either. FBI is one of the world's biggest Bitcoin owners, not to mention it didn't have to mine or pay for a single coin. Now let's talk about Hamilton Project. The Hamilton Project is an economic policy initiative launched in 2006 by former members of Clinton and Obama's administration. They're the ones writing rules and regulations for future CBDC hand in hand with US Treasury. If you go to their website, you'll see it's all about LGBT with a twist of feminism and economic policy. Not surprising given that Bill Clinton himself is a sexual deviant. It was under his watch in 1996 when women got green-lighted into US Navy and turning it into a world's biggest whorehouse. It's no secret that US Navy runs its own prostitution ring. Now, the same people are writing rules for future currencies. Being an LGBT could actually add more social credit points. The crypto fanatics are totally unaware of everything I said so far, and not only that, they don't want to hear about it. At the risk of being accused of looking in too deep, I can't help but seeing it as yet another sign of Western decadence. I came across my share of fanatics in my years, everything from religious, social, racial, even atheist fanatics. But I never imagined seeing currency, or I should say, materialist fanatics. Fanaticism justifies itself by some kind of higher purpose. But what's the higher purpose of digital money? It's nothing but greed. And greed has become a higher purpose in its own right. Gordon Gekko would sure be proud. Any attempt of reasoning or talking some common sense is considered sacrilegious by these clowns. They are triggered by slightest hint of criticism or doubt. Greed is in fact their god. Money itself should be nothing more but a war for accomplishment or providing goods and services to a fellow man. We're all driven to accomplishments and there is nothing wrong with that. But we reach the highest point of consumerism possible. I don't see the next step because I don't think there is one. Decadence has metastasized and we are at the last stage. Greed became God. And it ain't even about money, it's about over-excessive and destructive self-indulgence. At least those other fanatics I mentioned have some kind of moral compass, such as it is. And speaking of silly fanatics, I gotta mention vegans. Those dumbasses are nothing more than radical animal rights activists. That's it. They are completely clueless about any other topic. They only talk about how vegan they are, and it's pretty much all they do. And they react the same way, super sensitive and easily triggered. Another funny thing about vegans is they keep talking about the size of their schlongs. That fucking movement has turned from animal rights into a dick pics contest. And the system loves these idiots. They're most miserable, most frustrated, and self-delusional people I've seen online. They have the same aggressive cult mentality like Bitcoin fanatics. And again, no higher purpose, just self-gratification. The system will collapse regardless, which is helping the acceleration. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy and needs to happen. At the end of the day, nature will have the last laugh. They can reset the system as many times they want, nature will reset itself. The destruction of the system can't come fast enough. And that's a good thing. We got no reason to worry about it. Others might, but not us. We still have our wits together and we started prepping before anyone else. This is Top Dollar signing off.